Welcome everybody to another comic book spoiler review. Excuse me. And I'll be going over the miniseries, 5-issue miniseries, Kang the Conqueror. Only myself left to conquer. This is actually pretty fire because, Kang typically shows up. Well, the first time I ever was aware of somebody like Kang was when he first fought the Fantastic Four, when they traveled back in time fighting this pharaoh, which was him, named Ramatut. He went by many names. And in this story, they hint at the fact that Dr. Doom's supposed to be their ancestor. But in most cases, which is something like make better sense, they never really settled on it. But the fact that his name is Nathaniel Richards. His real name is Nathaniel Richards of the 31st century. So by that logic, he would be the descendant of Reed Richards. And I think that should have been more settled on fact instead of flip-flopping depending on the writer. And I don't care what anybody says, I really hope that, Jonathan Majors is found innocent, so that way he can continue forward. Disney will continue forward with this guy, let the whole thing go, and people can just like settle on Kang being the overall overarching bad guy of the multiverse saga of the MCU, instead of too busy questioning whether or not they should ditch him entirely and just pivot to Dr. Doom. And I'm like, even if you do that and there's a new actor for Dr. Doom, what if he goes through a whole nother scandal? Then what are you gonna do? So it's like, instead of letting like the court system play out as it should play out, it should just wait until then you can probably decide whether or not to if he's found guilty, yeah, like go ahead and just probably just recast, because you pretty much set up Kang pretty hard. But if I'm innocent, let it all go, and let's continue forward with Kang with Jonathan Majors. My opinion. Speaking of Richards, right now there's been like a whole situation online with people. There's been just a rumor that Pedro Pascal will be in the one of the names in the rotation to play MCU Reed Richards. And some people are excited, other people not so much. I personally feel like John Krasinski, did a great job for the short amount of time he had the role in Multiverse of Madness, and they should have just kept it. Sure, different variants can have different faces, but sometimes they can have the same face, and you could just gone with John Krasinski. It's like he did a really good job. And Pedro Pascal's, been like in almost any goddamn thing at this point, and it's like I don't know. I don't see him as like a Reed Richards, personally. So anyway, let's go over Kang's abilities really quick. He's a normal human being, but he has a superior level intellect. Though it is hard to gauge Kang's intellect given his futuristic origins, his genius is nothing short of superhuman by modern standards. He commands technology beyond the most sophisticated designs of Stark Industries and Dr. Doom, and has made breakthroughs in time travel and in robotics. Kang is the only known time traveler other than his counterpart Immortus, who possess the ability to travel through time without creating divergences. Yeah, because you got Ramatut, Immortus. There's another one, something Centurion, Scarlet Centurion. That those three people that you saw at the end of Ant-Man Quantumania, those are the guys, because there's many variants of Kang. In fact, Kang has the combined knowledge and experience of his counterparts from across the multiverse. Furthermore, while employing the vast resources of his empire, and when using his time ship to penetrate the transdimensional realm of Limbo, from which all future eras are accessible, Kang theoretically has access to technology from any century and presumably any alien worlds as well. Hence, in combination with the multiple resources available to him, Kang showed to have in his possession rare artifacts such as the last cosmic cube, demonstrating expertise in effortlessly manipulate it. It may also include artifacts such as the Forever Crystal, which is capable to erase whole realities from existence. Political savvy, Kang is a brilliant military tactician and a peerless general. Using his considerable charisma, Kang was able to raise an army and conquer his first world within mere weeks of building his armor. Kang has conquered everything within 100 light years from Other Earth, totaling 1,000 worlds, which include the counterpart Baldoon and Shi'ar empires of his reality, extending to several other dimensions. Though he considers it a chore, Kang is also a capable statesman. Kang is portrayed as commonly underestimating the amazing power provided by a cosmic cube, suggesting that he prefers to conquer worlds via more conventional and less exceptional means. Skilled combatant, Kang is a master of both armed and unarmed combat. He has mastered to go toe-to-toe with Captain America and single-handedly held back Immortus' time-tossed army for several minutes during the Destiny War. Indomitable will. Equipment. Battle armor. Kang's battle armor is produced from a rare synthetic alloy from the 40th century. It is neurokinetic, meaning it responds to his subconscious thoughts. Though Kang has no powers, his armor endows him with rough equivalents of superhuman abilities. Enhanced strength, able to lift 5 tons, durability, it can withstand even a nuclear strike at point blank range. Anti-gravity device, video communicator, time travel, chrono-cloning. Kang can intentionally multiply himself through these divergences. Kang considers these diverse cells to be expendable, and their deaths simply mean more timelines to conquer. Concussive bolts, weaponry. By cracking his fingers, Kang can summon any number of weapons, which are transported to him through time stream instantaneously. Electric shock, hover pad, survival kit. Kang's armor has a self-contained atmosphere, 30-day supply of food, and waste disposal system. Body transference. Until recently, Kang employed nanotechnology in his helmet circuitry that enabled him to transfer his mind into a new body at the moment of death. Kang's light of the Century Sphere. A sphere that can transport people through space and time. It can also hold people captured in itself. It travels faster than light speeds, probably fueled by a virtual inexhaustible energy source, or alternatively by accessing hyperspace. Weapons. He typically carries various weapons, such as an antimatter defense screen generator, a vibration ray projector, an electromagnetic field amplifier, neutrino ray warhead missile launcher, handgun size, electrical paralysis generator, nerve gas sprayer, and a molecular expander. He commands a vast array of warriors from all across periods of time, including his own future era, armed with advanced weaponry. He used numerous robots, most notably his growing man stimuloids, packed with the growth pollen of the world cosmos, which causes them to grow in size and strength by absorbing kinetic energy. This growth pollen used the same energy accessed via the size-changing Pym particles discovered by Dr. Hank Pym. Also, just a fun little note. Kang keeps a trophy room at the edge of space-time which contains paraphernalia from various heroes and villains. The longest time Kang had been in the present was over 136 hours when accessing Doctor Doom. Kang is aware of the misconception about him being the father of Reed Richards, although it is technically the opposite. He is the descendant of Reed Richards. So there you go. Pretty much like Kang's, skills and abilities. So here we go. Oh, and this miniseries is written by two writers, Collin Kelly and Jackson Lanzing, art by Carlos Magno. So Kang, it opens with Kang just pondering his he's musing on the fact that about Alexander the Great once wept at the fact that there was not enough worlds for him to conquer, and he kind of makes some parallels to how he is like, the current Alexander the Great, wanting to conquer not just his world, his timeline, but all various timelines and all various multiverses, where he is, the ultimate conqueror. And of course, he goes by many names in various timelines, mostly as Kang, but is also Immortus, Scarlet Centurion, Rama Tut, He Who Remains, Victor Timely. That is just a handful of names he is most known by. Matter of fact, is there any other names that might be overlooking? Because he's been all over the place. Second here. Okay. Victor Timely, Pharaoh Ramatut, Blue Man, King of Kings, Master of Men, Lord of the Seven Sons, Victor Timely Jr., Victor Timely III, being like pretend to be the father, the son, and the grandson. Just Kang, Conqueror of the Universe, Scarlet Centurion, John Titor. So he reminisces as his time as his younger self in his timeline, and how pretty much like bored he was, because in his time it's pretty much like a utopia when it's like you can have a severe injury, like the time, like he said, like a kid once got his throat slit by a bunch of other kids, and he was able to be taken to a hospital, and he was healed up and good as new in a matter of like, well, it probably will take days or a lot longer now to deal with somebody getting their throat slit, and it's very serious kind of operation. Here is like, getting like a flu shot. It's how like, simple it is. You want for nothing in this time. So essentially he's just bored. He doesn't, he's very intelligent, but he's lacking something. like like obviously like he you know what he's going to turn into. He wants to, you know, yearn for something. Uh, so he ends up going to these lower catacombs where he come across a Doombot that's still left that got activated because it's part of like an old Doom, Dr. Doom kind of a hideout or something. And his older self showed up, destroyed the thing, and sent it right back to the 21st century in Latveria. And so his older self brought him along so he can teach him how to, okay, all through all the things that I've learned and all the failures that I came across in my time, I'm going to teach you so that you won't make those same mistakes, so you can be better. And of course, young Nathaniel, you know, is looking bewildered, better, like I'm already better, kind of thing. But he goes right back to the prehistoric time. Excuse me. And he is taught about all the failings he experienced, including, you know, dealing with the Fantastic Four and the Avengers. So it's like he doesn't, when you come across these individuals, he knows what would he need to do. Along the way, when he's in his training, he also is brought to a particular time when probably one of the greatest teachings he's trying to teach young Nathaniel, that never love. And he shows him at a different point in time that the love of his life, Ravonna Renslayer, gets assassinated. And so he's trying to teach him never love. That will be Kang. That's the only time Kang has ever conquered, is because of love. So never love. So Nathaniel, while training outside, coming across this young woman who he saved from this T-Rex. She takes him back to her camp, where he meets this shaman who bestows him this war paint that goes down his eyes to simulate the look he has, as you know, when you have that blue mask on. And to give this, the shaman says this line about, you know, like look into like his heart, essentially, like you'll be like the kind of like a cancer to time itself, kind of thing. But he doesn't really think too much on it. He doesn't believe in things like deities or anything like that. But he's, you know, infatuated with his woman, so he's having a good time, and they're, you know, dancing around the bonfire. So he's smitten really fast. So he runs back to Kang, who's drinking, he's wallowing pretty much in self-pity if he's not training his younger self. And he is vehemently mad. It's like a, you know, drunk, abusive father, essentially, where he tells him to wipe up that stupid paint off his face. That's like, I told you never to love. He hits him, and in order to teach him a lesson, or like a hard lesson, which is wrong, he's a complete evil bastard, He takes his weapon, goes down to the village and starts annihilating everybody there, completely everybody. And of course, young Nathaniel is just seething with rage. So and he had this. He was dragged there so he could witness it. So this older Nathaniel can teach his younger self, the pitfalls of, you know, caring for others and love and things like that. You gotta nix that because that'll be your downfall, and you still won't listen to me. So I'm gonna have to, hit home right here and now. So this sets up like a path for his, for revenge. So he steals, because they only here for a year, because there's a meteorite that's going to come crashing down and destroying this entire, like vast area of the, I assuming of the continent, depending on how like the ecosystem was back then. So it's literally, days before they was going to leave. But the 2 days before the rock's supposed to arrive, he makes a plan, and or at least the night before they was planning on leaving, he wakes up in the middle of the night while Kang is drunkenly asleep. He takes his armor, recalibrates it so it'll fit him and answer his commands, and use it to time travel all the way back. He wasn't controlling it, like, at least keying in a specific moment that he really wants. So he just went and shot way, well, he technically will be in the future, which is still a past. He goes to ancient Egypt, where Rama-Tut is ruling, his older but different self. Also, during this whole period in Egypt, also kind of coincides with, at least a little bit of with Apocalypse and his origins, which you can check out on my YouTube channel, youtube.com/talkingofcarl. I did a video of the origins of Apocalypse and his fight against Rama-Tut, Kang the Conqueror. So that one's fun, so definitely check that out. So now we got this Moon Knight character saving Nathaniel from Rama-Tut's men, and turns out is Ravonna, Renslayer. And in this period of time, Ravonna is the herald to Khonshu. Matter of fact, it's kind of wild. I don't know if they actually how many Moon Knights has been, because this might be like a one-off. I'm not sure if they kept this like as a mainstay thing. How many Moon Knights? Um, Okay. I don't know, probably have to look this up later. Cause in the current comics there's like a uh another fist of Khonshu that's teaming up with uh Mark, who's a little bit more uh well, Mark rebelled against Khonshu. This guy is all in on the belief on Khonshu. I forgot his name. But anyway, Ravonna and Nathaniel plan out a way to, like, because essentially we all know that Khonshu, is, wants to, like, his belief is to annihilate those who bring evil upon the world, but as, more often than not, he kind of takes it way too far with punishing the guilty. But he sees somebody like Rama Tut as a threat to the lands of Egypt. So Nathaniel, not believing in the same ideology, but their goals align, he teams up with her in order to try to put a stop to Rama Tut. His costume, he changes it to Iron Lad, which is kind of like a bastardization of Iron Man's armor. And it kind of looks like the Silver Centurion, which he would refer to it as the Scarlet Centurion. But they also become an item, or at least they became smitten with each other, even though he knows that, his older self warned him about getting involved in general, let alone Ravonna. But he keep coming across a Ravonna as somebody like he will ultimately care for, and only one he would care for. But they end up getting busted after all those raids they doing to disrupt Rama Tut's forces and disrupting his rule. He sends out this mechanized Sphinx to capture them, brings them to his hall so he can, like, nip this in the bud. He used this Deodode ray on Ravonna, who wouldn't submit to him willingly, so he used this weapon that's kind of like an anti-will ray. It's pretty much like, sapping any type of resistance from her, where she'll just do what he says, and then makes her into one of his concubines. This is, like, very icky when you think about it. And young Nathaniel wants to fight back, but he gets hit with that same ray, so he loses his will to fight back. Then, not before he explains to Rama Tut that I'm you, so who knows, if you end up killing me, that it'll be a threat to you. So that's when Rama Tut was like, okay, I'll just use you as one of my generals. And so they lead a campaign against Apocalypse himself. In the ensuing fight, one of Apocalypse's men, slashed at Nathaniel's armor, disrupting it, also breaking the control of Rama Tut. Throughout the entire battle, once it's all said and done, knowing that he lacked the skill, he was woefully unprepared and got caught with his pants down with his older self. So he goes to, because he can't go take the fight to Robert Tutt, because after this juncture, he ends up getting attacked by the Fantastic Four, because it's around that time when they will eventually show up, as I mentioned in my Apocalypse review comic. He ends up, turning, turning with his tail between his legs, going back to the time stream after his defeat against the Fantastic Four, which I really want to cover that in a, because I want to review some Fantastic Four comics. And I think since I'm covering this particular time in Egypt, where here with Kang and one with Apocalypse, I gotta figure out the comic where the Fantastic Four meet up with Kang the Conqueror for the first time. But so knowing that Robert Tutt is gone now and he needs to find him, and he doesn't have the technology to traverse through time anymore, so he goes to Apocalypse, who he knows will have the means to get him there, but he's not going to go through quick like he typically would. He has to go through the long way around. So what Apocalypse will be doing is formulating a high-tech high-tech arcane sarcophagus to house Nathaniel, to keep him young. I'm assuming take care of his needs for food, water, keep him alive, and deal with waste kind of thing. I guess it helps you don't think too much on it, and then wait it out until he's released in some point in the future, which at a certain point you'll think he got really lucky that he got dug up around the time when the Avengers eventually was formed and they started dealing with Kang, instead of sometime much earlier than that. But anyway, I love this line from Apocalypse where your predecessor, the fallen pharaoh, made the goddess Time into his concubine. He cheated her of her hours and minutes. He traveled through her and swiftly, when her satisfaction demanded patience. In Samanur seeks not this path, for it is strewn with cowards. So if you are to cross the ages for our mutual goal, destruction of the tyrant Kang, you will do so by her measure. In her time, protected from her ravages, but not immune to her wisdom. Evolution demands it. So basically, you will have to go the long way. And even though he was fully awake as the ages was passing, which I can't imagine, because you couldn't sedate him or something until he's on Earth. Why he has to be fully aware as time passes? It's he mentions how he hyper focuses on his goal, and that's the only thing he was thinking about to keep him sane, because that would drive anybody insane. And it's why couldn't you just put him a sleeper pod type of sarcophagus? This is weird. That part is bugged me. It's a slight nitpick. It wasn't necessarily as an issue. They explained it fine, but it's just I couldn't. After this different Kang's defeat against the Avengers during their first meetup, young Nathaniel snuck up on board his time ship, where he planned on assassinating this guy. But then Dr. Doom showed up, assuming he wants to steal and defeat Kang. Because Doom mentions my reasons are my own. He never like to explain himself. You assume that he wants the technology that's in Kang's possession, and he's going to plan on defeating both of the Kangs on this ship. But they end up briefly teaming up in order to send Doom right back to his home in Latveria, back to his time. Even though young Nathaniel hates his older self, he then, as soon as Doom was dispatched, he then turns on his older self, shoots him, and essentially got his revenge. Using his time shift, he goes right back to Egypt days before his older self will show up, which that poses an issue for me, because dealing with time travel is confusing for a lot of people, and I get it. But here's the thing: knowing that you're at one fixed point, your past future self will show up in this point in time to make himself a pharaoh to conquer Egypt. You showing up wouldn't stop that from still happening, but maybe once he found out that there's already a Ramatut here, he probably would have gone back to a different point in time, because knowing that's not gonna be feasible when his other self was already here, given maybe some kind of assumption that he already been here, so it was, he kind of miscalculated or something, and just went back. Never fully explained, because that would cause some kind of paradox or something, where he just ends up, because what's stopping him from the original thing still happening just because you show up days before he did? But he did, and this time he want to change things up. Instead of like sapping the will from his previous self and Ravonna, he sends her, to this sacred place where she'll be safe. But still, he needs his other self to go about what needs to be going about in order for him to get to this point. He still let everything else play out where they need to play out, which means ruling Egypt, dealing with Apocalypse, causing his other self to be the Scarlet Centurion to lead his army, and then also fight the Fantastic Four, which will lead to his defeat, and therefore he has to be the one to piss off, essentially. So yeah, but as he went through the time stream, he ends up way beyond, even past his own fix in history or his original present, into a far, far future, where he meets a different Ravonna Renslayer, who's a battle-hardened warrior fighting this unknown kind of war where just a bunch of people just fighting and everything just on fire. So they team up and starts taking on all these different forces, and he just once again is smitten. He got his Ravonna back, because who knows what happened to the Moon Knight Ravonna. He never questions it, never went back at any point to go find her, but he's pretty much like satisfied to just have Ravonna here. Never thought about the ancient Egypt version. And as he's trying to, get close to her, she pretty much, throws him over her shoulder, lays his ass out, and gives him this crazy eyes and let him know, like, I don't know about what your Ravonna is. I'm not her. I don't have any feelings for you. And we'll keep it that way. I don't have anything for you. So this leaves him crushed. And so now, even though he has a Ravonna, she doesn't want nothing to do with him, despite everything. So he resigned himself to be, be a better conqueror or better Kang. Gets, leading his own army, fighting some old technology to build his uh time machine ship, and start going through different fixed points in time to conquer certain moments, like during King Arthur's reign. Even the quantum realm, kind of like something similar to what's going on that went on with Quantumania in a way. Even dealing with Immortus, a supposed good version of him who utilizes more so magic than technology, defeated him, and then also defeated the Skrulls in a Shi'ar Empire of another fixed time. So yeah, he just becomes what he ends up becoming, one way or the other. Then he come across another ruler, and this time is a white girl version of Ravonna. And this is the one that his older self was showing him before. So now he sees this woman that he's been so warned about, but he's still smitten with her. Just this one particular woman is just throat points in all timelines he will always be into, and just wants a Ravonna by his side because he likes the idea. He just seems like he likes the idea of Ravonna. And so every conqueror wants a queen or wife, essentially, but nobody ever measured up but this one particular woman. So he has a general who says, like, should we just attack? And it's like, no, leave her be, and decides not to continue forward with his campaign, which upset the general and most other of the followers. And so he decides to fight against this rogue general, which ends up causing a stray shot to hit well, not a straight shot, more so he wanted to hurt Kang by hitting somebody he was starting to fall in love with, and vice versa. And just like a twist of cosmic fate, that's where he sees, because I showed the particular panel earlier just for this particular moment, where things are starting to come full circle as he's turned around and he sees Kang with young Nathaniel coming through, peering through like a time portal, seeing what transpired, that he's going to eventually warn young Nathaniel. It's just like, his mind is freaking blown at this point. It's like, oh my God, it's like, I'm doomed to this. I'm freaking doomed to this. Not Victor Von doomed to this. I'm really doomed to this. Where it's like, I end up in the exact point that he warned about. And it's like, he's pretty much lost at this point. So he decides to create this tower, this pretty much like a giant laboratory called the Chronotopolis, where he takes the body of Ravonna, uses some techno babble BS, where he pretty much takes her essence or a soul or something and spread it all through the multiverse, where no matter in what timeline, there will always be a Ravonna in all time. So that way he will try to get, go through the time stream and try to find a Ravonna that not only will love him, but will be alive as well. So I wanted to highlight this because it's kind of wild to me, like, because he essentially is obsessed. So he goes to like 1347, a Ravonna of that time period. He's trying to get to her before she gets hit by the plague, but she runs away from him because he assumes that he's some kind of Grim Reaper. Then the year 4000, a Ravonna rejects him. Then 5323, a Kree Ravonna, gets assassinated by a Skrull before he gets to her. And of course, the same situation with Ravonna, where she gets assassinated by the general here. 31,248 year Ravonna already is in a relationship with Immortus, or at least a Immortus. 2001, she gets murdered. Then you got 2920. Ravonna gets killed. It looks like an Egypt version of Ravonna. I don't know what's up with that, with the crazy year. But Ravonna gets killed. I guess that kind of explains what happened to Egypt Ravonna, but I'm just kind of confused about the year it's specifying. But he mentions like doesn't matter because she will be in love with Nathaniel, not who I am now. Then 3423, he encounters a Ravonna who mastered time herself, and that didn't work out. Then 2027, he meets some kind of superhero version of Ravonna, but she beats him up and rejects him. 7634, we come across a Ravonna, but she not only rejects him but fight against him. So in the ensuing fight, she has significant power herself. You know, Kang just like, okay, you're just another failure. So he attacks her before she, I guess, supposedly dies. She blows up Chronotopulus because she is just disgusted by the fact that this guy, you know, did this to her, or at least many versions of her, to try to, you know, keep her. Essentially, he doesn't view her as a person at all. He just sees her as something, another thing to be conquered, essentially. And so this sends him flinging back in a particular time where he goes to the moment where he meets up with his younger self. So now we're Ouroboros this thing here. So now he is like trying to teach his younger self not to make those same mistakes, because he still makes mistakes. But then after, you know, his younger self doesn't listen to him, he still went out to destroy that village. But you know, we don't see from Kang's point of view earlier in the issue run, because at that time we're going through young Nathaniel's point of view. Now we're in an older Nathaniel's point of view of what would have transpired if we saw. Yeah, he annihilated this entire village, but when he killed the shaman, he realized the shaman was the Egyptian, seemingly the Egyptian Ravonna, or at least maybe a Ravonna who has the same kind of, you know, conchu looking necklace that Egyptian Ravonna had. So now he just just completely like, you know, he just can't right now. His mind is blown. The fact that he ultimately killed a Ravonna, an older Ravonna, in his like just blind anger. So in the midst of young Nathaniel taking his armor to go time traveling to do what he's going to do, we see through old Nathaniel's point of view what transpired when he upped and dipped when he assumed the meteorite that would come crashing down will go annihilate him and everything on this in this location. But older Nathaniel had like a secret compartment with a spare armor where he puts on and just, you know, just go ahead, young Nathaniel, do what you're gonna do. And so he pretty much, resigned himself to the lesson that he had to learn the very hard way to never love. And we're back to the moment where we was in the beginning of issue 1, where he's pondering his life choices, essentially. And that ends the 5-issue mini-series of Kang the Conqueror. And yeah, the timey-wimey stuff might get confusing to some. Hopefully I explained as best I can, but this dude is just like, love is something that he couldn't conquer, essentially. But anyway, let me know in the comments below what you think of Kang the Conqueror and the story of Ravonna Renslayer. Yeah, because the way he did was kind of wild to me. Like, he was that much in love. He made sure that no matter what, there's gonna be any timeline he going through, there's gonna be a Ravonna for him to try to find. Matter of fact, there's been moments when the Ravonnas he didn't meet along the way, they explained to him that they never knew their parents. They were just here at some point. So that kind of explains in a way why there's always a Ravonna, because they're just because of Kang, the universe just plopped a Ravonna there for her to grow up and be in a particular timeline, where no matter what race or species or what, there's gonna be a Ravonna. Oh man, it'd be kind of fun for the Marvel Comics to create a Miss Minutes too, and just be super obsessed with Kang. I'm shocked they haven't done that yet. But yeah, that is it was a fun read. I really enjoyed it, and I love the art in this, and it's fun to read mini stories about certain villains. And this is a nice little updated knowledge of Kang's slightly origins, but just an adventure with him and his ideology and beliefs and goals and stuff like that. And the only main villain is himself. This is really like a nice tight story. Anyway, like and subscribe, share this with your friends, and I'll see you guys in a little bit for one more movie review, and then I'll probably hop onto some Overwatch later on tonight. But I also put out some a couple of reaction videos. One for about the new Overwatch character Mauga, who's pretty much the Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson in the cast, and the Omni-Man Mortal Kombat 1 intro dialogues. Check that out. And yeah, I'll see you all in a little bit. Peace.